This podcast is brought to you by Deer Cutter. Calm the woods naturally. Visit them at deercutter.org. Take the edge off. Now get out there and hunt. This podcast is brought to you by Darbonic Premium Beef Jerky. A friendly reminder to be adventurous. Hey guys, it's Evan Kaloji with the Bug Camp Podcast. Going to do my first solo podcast episode today. Kind of got some inspiration for this podcast from the Go Hunt Guys. I listen to the Big Hunt Guys podcast a lot, where they usually go over like the harvest stats for certain states. I definitely know that they have it on their website. So the inspiration for this episode is just to go over the Ohio deer harvest total for the 24 and 25 season. Excuse me. We'll kind of start out, going over the total, how many tags were sold. We'll get into antlered versus doe, button buck, and shed antlered or less than 3 inches. We'll go over the weapons taken, guns, different types of guns, shotguns, muzzleloaders, the straight walled cartridge, and then we'll kind of get into the top 5 counties that the deer numbers of harvest were the greatest. So I'll kind of start out with this 2024 and 25 season. The Ohio deer harvest total was 238,137 harvests, and there were 431,660 tags sold. That's 24,210 more deer harvested than the 23 and 24 season. So not this last season, but the season before, they had 213,927 total deer harvested. So this year is like the 4th highest total for deer harvested, right behind the 2010 and 11 season, where we had 238,683 harvested, and then the best year was 2009 and 2010 at 260,442 total deer harvested. One thing that I kind of wanted to note that as I've been hunting for the past few years, it's almost like archery has kind of taken over deer hunting in Ohio, and I remember we used to see, the Orange Army is what they called them, just a lot of guys, a lot of gals, a lot of youth getting after those deer in the gun seasons. I feel like in the past 4 or 5 years, that number's diminished, but this year's gun season, according to Ohio Department of Natural Resources, had the highest harvest rate in the last decade, by a total of 87,192 harvests. Kind of going into how many buck were killed, it was 97,618. So definitely got after the buck this year. The button buck right at 21,689. And then either, a half rack or antlers less than 3 inches. So I think like a spike or something like that was 3,147. The doe this year is a great number, 115,638. Kind of what that shows me is that a lot of guys are starting to do more of the doe management. I feel like, at least from my experience and my opinion on that subject, is whenever I would go back, it was like I'm hunting buck only. So I think that we're doing, not only a service to keep the deer herd healthy and keep diseases out, but we're also managing that buck to doe ratio on these farms or public land that we're hunting. Okay, cool. Now we'll get into kind of weapons that took these animals. For me, I'm a big archery guy, so I'm going to start out there. Looks like from the harvest report, 106,269 deer were taken during the archery season, and about 73% of those, or 78,254, were taken with a crossbow. And then you have your vertical bow, which I wish it would have broken down between your traditional recurve longbow, and then your modern compound bow. But that number total is makes up 27% of that archery total at 30,839, which is definitely good. I like archery. I'd like to see a little bit of a limit on the crossbow, kind of like I talked with my buddy Robert Spillman, who was on our last podcast, just about kind of if you're gonna hunt with a bow, in my opinion, if you can draw back a compound bow, that's what I think that you should hunt with. But that's just my opinion, and I don't really have any say. But I think states like Utah, I believe Colorado, they have like a clause in their hunting laws. If you're a able-bodied individual, then you're hunting with a compound bow. If you do, have an injury, I'm all for it, using a crossbow. But I think that just kind of levels the playing field with those whitetail each year. The crossbows are getting insanely better from when I was a kid shooting I know it was a Horton. I'm not sure what kind, but that one was probably max range 50 yards. Now we're getting people taking shots up to 100 yards with their crossbow. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But we'll switch up to gun. So the gun stats this year: 129,044 whitetail harvested with a gun. As we've seen, I think I want to say like the past 5 years, I don't know exactly, but we've seen the introduction of the straight walled cartridge, the 350 Legends, the 450s, which I think is good. I have never used one myself, but I think if we can use a straight walled cartridge, just like we saw with the muzzle loaders, you go from black powder and ball to an inline muzzleloader. I think as long as we can advance that, then that's great. But this year with the straight walled cartridge, so those 350 Legends, the 450s, we're looking at about 77,027 deer harvested with that during the gun season. That puts it like 32% of all gun harvests. And then right behind that is shotgun at 34,338, about 14%. The muzzleloader was at 17,902, so that's about 7% of that gun harvest rate. And this kind of surprised me when I looked at it too, but handgun, so there were 587 hunters out there, less than 1%, that shot and harvested a deer with a handgun. I think that's pretty cool. I've never hunted with a handgun before. Could be, kind of cool to be in that less than 1% of all gun hunters who harvested a deer using that weapon system. And then kind of getting into the counties. So I have here the top 5 counties in descending order. So and this is for like total number of deer harvested. So we have Ashtabula County is coming in at 6,042 deer harvested. So they'll take number 5 on the top 5 counties in Ohio. At the number 4 spot, we've got Muskingum County, harvested 6,269 deer. Number 3, we've got Knox County at 6,730. Number 2, we've got Tuscarawas County at 7,373. And at number 1 for back-to-back years, the 23-24 and now the 24 and 25 season, we've got Coshocton at 8,196 for their total harvest this year. Cool. So I'm going to, all of that information I had gotten off of Ohio's final 2024-25 deer harvest report. I'll put that in kind of a link in the description on this podcast post if anyone wants to kind of look at that. I know the last podcast episode with Robert, we kind of talked about out-of-state hunters and them on public land and kind of how that's kind of affecting the hunters that are here in Ohio and their chance to get a tag. So I'm just going to kind of go over, I've got the top 5 states here that out-of-state non-resident hunters are buying those licenses to come and hunt in Ohio. So we've got New York state. 3,170 people from New York bought a tag for the 24-25 Ohio hunting season. We've got North Carolina with 3,287 non-residents hunting Ohio. We've got West Virginia with 3,625 residents buying those deer permits. And we've got Michigan, they bought 5,205, and then Pennsylvania was the leader there with 7,898 out-of-state non-resident license sales. Again, just kind of trying to get like a broad picture here on the harvest numbers for the last season, 24 and 25, kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight into the numbers of deer and kind of where your county falls there. There was something, let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. All right, so something on here too that we've got, just, everyone likes antlers, everyone likes big buck, and the kind of the notable bucks is kind of what we'll go over here. So I've got 8 of the biggest bucks from Ohio's 2024 deer season. It's a Field and Stream article. So the first one is going to be Logan Urban's 260-inch giant. So right here, Logan was hunting on the ground with a crossbow on October 5th when the biggest buck he's ever seen stepped into a bean field about 200 yards away. That's awesome. Good on Logan for getting that 260 and 7/8 inches buck. Logan took that into longtime Buckmaster scorer Toby Hughes in I think it's Caledonia, Ohio. And I'm looking at the pictures here again. I'll try and share these with you guys as well. Just an absolute unit of a deer. Good to him. Hunter Winsler, public land tank of a deer. Awesome with him. 26-point Ohio buck that he killed in early December. Not seeing what he killed it with. Looks like a gun of some sort. He's got some Hunter orange on. You have Mark Dunn's October trophy, 233-inch Ohio buck, October 20th. I just couldn't even imagine like seeing some of these massive deer on my trail cam. I'm sure everyone, like myself included, if I get a 50-inch 10-point on my camera, I'm pumped. Number 4, Brandon Sheets with the heavy horn 20-point monster. Killed that on November 9th. I think the BTR score of 260 and 7/8 inches. Massive buck. And again, I'll put all these pictures up on the podcast as well. Daniel Cremines. I'm not seeing the score here, but I mean, I'd say at least every bit of 190. Not 100% sure. There's a Buckmasters kind of story on that too. Tommy Allen's Ghost Buck. So looking like it scored right at 216 in a half inch. Great buck. took it with a compound bow, which is what I really like to see. That's awesome. Not negating the fact of any of these deer. Just I really like to see guys that with the compound bow be successful. At number 7, Will Grodhouse, 200-inch 10-point, measured in at 200 and 4/8 of an inch, so 1/2 of an inch as well. On October 3rd. Awesome buck. Again, another compound bow archery kill. Tommy Gliada's Booner. The buck green scored 165. Boone and Crockett with 11 scoreable points. Again, an absolute stud. Looks again like another compound bow killed there. So those are the 8 kind of top buck from Field and Stream magazine of 2024. So yeah, that's kind of just wanted to get on here and kind of wrap, the 2024-2025 season for whitetail in Ohio, and just kind of kind of get that harvest report out there and see what guys were killing and how the season played out against seasons past. But that's all that I wanted to get on here about today. Again, my first solo episode. It'd be really awesome if you guys are listening to the Spotify episode, or you're watching this on YouTube. Just hit that like and subscribe. That definitely helps me out, so I can keep bringing this content to you guys. I really enjoyed doing it. Hopefully next time it won't be just me on the podcast running my suck. Hopefully I'll have a very interesting guest that you guys are interested in listening to. And again, if you guys do have any ideas, you can go to my Instagram page that will be linked in the video. Send me a direct message. If you know me, shoot me a text. And whatever you guys want to hear is what I want to offer on this podcast platform. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me on my first solo episode, and I'll be hopefully talking to you guys here sooner rather than later. Thanks, guys.